think that God only gives us what we can handle. And perhaps I'm strong enough where he's like, okay, well, I got to give it to someone so she can handle it. Or hey, there's another lesson that she really needs to learn. And he sort of does it to me in very big, impactful ways. I don't know, but I do know that there's just always something that you learn. There's always some sort of a beauty there.
Mom, this is Beverly Hills. You gotta be a little glamorous.
In 1990, Shannen Doherty landed her breakout role in the runaway hit teen drama Beverly Hills 90210.
Okay, nothing to wear. Great.
The 19-year-old actress starred as new girl in town, Brenda Walsh, while 24-year-old Luke Perry played her love interest, the brooding Dylan McKay.
I like your butts. I mean your bike.
Oh, well, thank you. Hop on.
So I think it was that like young love, right? You have the innocent girl from Minnesota who, you know, forms a crush on the bad boy.
Hi, I didn't see you.
I saw you.
It's almost a recipe for disaster, but that bad boy's got like a heart of gold. And that innocent girl from Minnesota has got a little like devilish streak.
Are you sorry we missed the movie?
Oh, yeah.
So they get together, and I think it was a very real relationship in a lot of ways.
How do you want me to feel, Dylan? What do you want me to feel for you?
There was also, yes, a chemistry between myself and Luke. Like there was a playfulness, but a true sort of caring about one another, and knowing that we were a part of like a couple that was going to be very iconic. And even back then, we felt a certain amount of responsibility for that.
Come on, damn it!
Stop yelling at me!
And I remember Luke and I got in like an actual like real argument, and we threw lunch trays at each other. It was so great. Like we got really mad at each other. And it was a rehearsal, and like props had given us like these lunch trays and sort of like fake food, and you know, we both just like tossed our lunch trays at each other, and then we had like, you know, battle of words in the trailer, and you know, and then we would hug it out, and then it was like, oh God, you know, like that was a funny moment because we talked about it, you know, years later of like why and how funny it was and how passionate we were about our opinions and what we were doing.
On-set tension made for good copy, and the press soon branded Doherty as the show's resident bad girl.
Yeah, I was misunderstood. Like I didn't share or it wasn't asked or whatever it was. So, you know, if somebody had a problem with me being late, perhaps they didn't know that, oh, I was late because my dad was in the hospital. You know, like, and I wasn't sharing that. I wasn't sharing the fact that my dad was super sick. So I would just go to the hospital and deal with things. So it was just a general large, you know, misunderstanding. And I'm not saying that it was all a misunderstanding. I'm just saying that there was a large portion that was a misunderstanding.
By 2015, Doherty had enjoyed an extremely successful career that spanned more than 3 decades. But that March, the 44-year-old actress received a heartbreaking diagnosis.
Actress Shannen Doherty, the former Beverly Hills 90210 star, revealed that she has breast cancer.
The following year, Shannen shaved her head and posted these powerful images on Instagram.
I mean, I think what that moment was and what it felt like was acceptance. It was me accepting that this was actually happening to me, that I was in fact losing my hair, and that my life was in danger, and that I wasn't invincible, that something could kill me, and that I did in fact have cancer. And it was important to go through, and it also was claiming it for myself and saying, no, you're not going to catch me with a bald spot on my head and run away with some ridiculous story. This is my story, and I'm the narrator, and like I'm writing my own story.
In March 2015, Shannen Doherty was diagnosed with breast cancer. The following year would be one of the hardest of her life.
I was in the middle of chemo, and I was, you know, God, I think at that point I had dropped down to like 91 pounds and I couldn't keep anything in my body. And I knew that I was like, my whole body was shutting down. And my mom rushed me to my doctor and they, literally had to like physically pick me up out of the car, put me in a wheelchair, take me into the doctor's office, like, again, lift me up, put me in a bed, and hook me up to IV for like hours because I was so dehydrated and they were worried that my organs were gonna start shutting down. That was the low point. That was, the low point of like, wow, like this is really bad. And, but that too passed.
Through it all, Doherty had the loving support of her husband, photographer Kurt Iswarenko.
I think it solidified our marriage. And not that our marriage wasn't good before, but I think that once cancer came around, we don't argue and let a night go by mad at each other. The last time we had a big argument was pre-cancer. And also the appreciation. Like, I think for Kurt, you would have to ask him, but I feel like he has this deep admiration for me and how I handled it.
In April 2017, Doherty announced that her cancer was in remission.
I think the funny thing with cancer and people's perception is that once you're, supposedly like no longer on chemo or radiation, that you are fine, and you bounce back and hey, you can work 16, 18 hours a day. And what they don't realize is that your body has been through something so incredibly difficult that your body never fully bounces back.
90210. This is the time to do a reboot.
29 years after the premiere of Beverly Hills 90210, the gang is back together for their new series, BH90210. But instead of just reviving their old characters, they're playing fictionalized versions of their real lives.
I'm an actor. I don't want to be a reality star. So for me, it was definitely more about creating a character than being a heightened version of Shannen.
As we speak, a very special person is live streaming on Instagram. Should we check in?
In the show, it's even a little bit more heightened to the point where you're like, okay, you're a little bit of a wackadoo, like the shamans and all of that. So there is some of that, but it's definitely, Shannen in the show is also very much a created character.
It's a very meta return to 90210 and an emotional one. Missing from the cast is the late Luke Perry, who died suddenly in February after a stroke.
I had turned it down. Luke and I both had turned it down multiple, like we were, and not for any other reason than just he was on Riverdale. He didn't really have time for it. I just didn't want to go back there, I had already done the 90210 reboot, so I was like, oh my God, like I can't do another 90210. It just felt like too repetitive for my career. And then, Luke passed away quite suddenly and surprisingly, and I had to think about it, and it came back around to me, and it was that moment of like, God, like everybody's there, and now if I'm not there, is that not honoring what we all went through together with him?
To Luke.
I love you guys.
And I really felt it was important that we were all there together as a group, because that's how we all started. Not in the business, but all started our journey together.
Maybe going back is just what we all need to move forward.
It's always interesting to get back together with a group that you have so much history with and so much later in life, and see, have you grown, have you not grown, or, are you still stuck there, or, are you not stuck there? It's a very interesting dynamic to be around. And it was a job that again, I did, to sort of pay homage to a dear friend, and it was a great 6 episodes, and curious to see what the audience thinks. As far as like my career goes, I'm focusing on that, but I'm also right now taking a break from it, because I think that it's important for me, not for everybody, but for me, to step out of it for a moment and remind yourself of what's actually meaningful and important in life. And for me right now, it's definitely about healing myself again. I look at it as that I'm really lucky to be alive every second, every minute of every day. And I just have to live each day as this sort of amazing, precious gift that I was given, and try to do good, try to do good for myself and do good for the people that I love.